meetings if you would allow me to, because sometimes it's good to have somebody at the table who knows what they're talking about. And we would add that all in together, and in exchange for that, the other one that we'll do is I'd like to put together a multi-year exercise for you that will comply with that HC, the Homeland Security protocols. That multi-year exercise builds on little stuff, and then I'm hoping probably Q3 of next year we can look at a full-scale exercise active shooter, which we're way overdue for, to do that exercise, where your staff can participate, we can get the resources. But there'll be lots of small stuff in there in between, and you'll see, and I'll go next slide. What do you get? It doesn't cost you a whole lot. We're going to use some water and some electricity. If the electricity's off over there, we're going to bring our own generators to get us going. In fact, if this plan does go through, that'll be one of our first drills, just like you do a fire drill. We'll do a drill where we'll come in after school hours, we'll set up our Starlink internet, and we'll set up our own generators and go, can we build this EOC with our public works staff? That will be on our multi-year exercise. It increases both of our organizations' eligibility for funding. So there's a lot of funding out there. What I have seen is they want to know that you're doing something and you're not just going, everything's broken, I need help to fix it. The Emergency Management Planning Grants, EMPG, are out there. They want to see these multi-year exercises, these HSEP exercises you're doing, and that you have crossed all the T's and that you're using all the formal FEMA language, which is really confusing and all intertwined. It embraces that whole community concept. We're an island. We need to build up satellites around our city that are hardened in order to handle these things. And that is stuff like the food bank, the senior center, parents and friends, and so forth. It strengthens your ability once we get done to get kids back in school as quickly as possible. And then it ensures the high school is the only registered evacuation center with the Red Cross for quite a ways that's ADA compliant. I'm still digging into that. We don't have the capability to open it up as an evacuation center right now, unfortunately, because we don't have cots. There are 20 cots in a trailer in Mendocino that are supposed to serve from Leggett to Walla. So those are conversations to have, and that's not your fault. It's not. It's the whole community concept. And I'll take next slide on that. And just real quick, the proposed timeline we'd be looking at if this went through, after the April meeting, we'd start stakeholder meetings from April and June, from senior leaders all the way down. I would have the initial EOP development probably done by the end of August. That would come back to you. You would have to approve that emergency operations plan and say, yes, we approve this. Following that, I get you a multi-year exercise plan. I don't develop your exercises, you develop your exercises. You have to tell me, we need to get better at this. We need to get better at this. I simply say, this is where we should be, and then I develop those exercises. The cool things about the exercises, you keep them, they're plug and play over and over. They're like a fire drill. You can adjust them as you need them, but they stay the same. Finalize the EOP by the end of the year, and so that'll be the final one, because I'll send it off to the state, and I'll get Cal OES at the state to review it and go, this is really cool, and Fort Bragg's doing good things. Send it back to you, and then in January, we kind of restart the process where we come and meet back and we go, what are the funding needs? I tell you right off the top of my head that there's no generators in the school district that are, that's a huge one, but I have to show what we're gonna do with them, not that we're just gonna keep school open. This is why we need this. And then following that, I will help out. I've done quite a few grant applications. I work with whoever your grant writer is, but I can do the language and add it all in there. With that, next slide. And I meant to go short, but I am passionate and I get really excited about this. And Chief calls me a nerd, and that's okay. And with that, I'll take any questions. And my last piece is I also have this same slide deck in Spanish back here with my cards on it. If you have anybody that's Spanish speaking, you might be interested in being stakeholders in this. Give them the slide deck, go contact Jeanette, and we'll set up a meeting. And with that, I'll take questions.
Any questions?
I want to thank you because you obviously prepared the report that was presented at the city council meeting on Monday with all the statistics.
That was me.
That was you. Well,
1000%.
Okay, the annual report. So they are doing amazing work. You guys, the community is improving. And so everyone should go at least look at the slides or just take that moment to, I think it was an hour presentation, plus or minus.
It's supposed to be,
But it is amazing what's coming through and how much is getting caught. And I mean, I just can't thank you all enough, your staff, and the collaboration with our students, maybe not, hopefully not daily, but weekly, and with our staff. So I just want to thank you. And this is really exciting because this is a piece that we were kind of rolling out, and we thought we were going to have, the Red Cross was going to bring like what do you call those things? The storage units were going to get plunked out at the high school. It was all before the pandemic. So there was some stuff and talk going forward. And it just, now, so it's, thank you for your time.
I'll just tag on to that. Thank you so much. This is very reassuring. Appreciate your hard work.
Any other comments, questions? So I have a few questions, if I may, Captain. The picture, the first picture of the EOC.
Yes.
So you guys finally got that built under town hall, I see. That's
I
awesome.
So the long-term plan is phase 3 of the CV Star, where we're building the basketball gym out. We're in the funding and the design cycle. That will be upstairs of that. I hope to see that in one of our careers. I
Nice.
do, but that's
Okay.
the next
Okay,
one.
that was just a little joke. But my questions are, I know Diana kind of just mentioned a CERT trailer. Is that, or do we still have one in the city? Is there one going to be sort of at the middle school, or what's?
So CERT is a different, CERT operates at what's called the operational area. That's your county level. So we do not have a CERT program right now, and the reason being Sergeant McLaughlin was running it. It took a lot of time, and there wasn't a lot of results. That trailer still does exist. It's only got search and rescue supplies. There is that Red Cross trailer. I got off the phone with American Red Cross because I thought too they were dropping these containers and they're coming. And he said, I've got 2.25 volunteers for you on the coast on the 20 cots. And then they also have sign-in sheets in there for you so you can make sure they sign in accordance with the American Red Cross guidelines.
Okay. Is there any storage or space requirements you'll need at the library that you're?
No, we are doing what's called a cold EOC. You have a cold, a warm, and a hot. So warm means like when you came to this room, all your computers were sitting in here, but you weren't here. That was warm. It was ready to go. Hot means it's running, that we do operations. And cold, we're going to do what's called an EOC pack-out kit. It gives us the ability, that if we do lose that middle school library to something else, we can build our EOC anywhere else. And so we'll have a pack-out kit that'll go. No storage will be needed over there. I will need... hopefully prior, and this is probably more a superintendent question, to this exercise, a walkthrough with IT, because we would like to try your Wi-Fi out just for the exercise. Then we have Starlink as our backup.
And then I know that as a board, we've been having discussions a lot lately about our own procedures as a district and having our own tabletop. We just formed a committee that are meeting. I don't know, Joe, if these efforts are now combined, if Captain O'Neill's going to join us, or how this all interplays, but
yeah, and that was the plan, to discuss at the committee meeting on Monday.
Okay.
So we can sort of think through this process, kind of review this, and see maybe how we want to reform some of what we've already discussed. So.
Okay. And then you already mentioned the generators. I know that's a big need for us in the district, and if by doing this, one of the outcomes is generators for at least some of our sites. That would be a huge improvement.
Yeah, we've had a couple stakeholder meetings with Barry and Joe, kind of looking at what that evacuation center looks like, and I have a personal opinion of getting 5th graders and below back into schools as soon as possible, because they're the ones most at risk. The older ones can take care of themselves, and what that looks like. But that's where those stakeholder meetings coming in, going, what's the best site? And that allows us to prioritize, because we go in and we ask for, I think we're probably looking at 150 to 170 per. We go, hey, we're asking for 900, but if you give us 360, we'll do this, and we'll have these two things available. Those are usually followed by MOUs as well. So if the city says we're going to combine and do this, you're going to say, we agree to allow the evacuation center to be here. You don't need to staff it. We agree to give you the facility, and those are things that come with those funding requests.
Okay. And again, we just thank you for all the work and the partnership, being in a remote area and writing the last plan 8 years ago. We're seriously at risk, and I feel like very lucky so far, because it's not if a disaster comes, it's when. So the more prepared we can be together, the more successful. So thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to item 9, reports. Our first is student rep report. Welcome.
Hi. So to start, from Noyo High School, the students have been doing martial arts, and they started the classes at Dana Gray on Fridays. Their goal is to empower the youth of Mendocino County to develop the skills and mindsets to drive to become a positive force throughout Mendo and the world at large. Their primary mission is to provide a high quality, this is Dana Gray. I've been reading out the wrong one. Their goal is to just really improve mindfulness and also just give the kids an experience and also adults if they would like. And then they also have a big month for field trips, so they're going to Point Cabrillo, Botanical Gardens, the Kelly House, and the Noyo Harbor. They are looking at the Noyo Women for Fisheries, and they want to thank the Parents Club. And they're going to go to the South Harbor to learn about the industry and the harbor at large. They want to make sure that you guys know there will be fish prints.
Oh, yes, I remember that field trip.
Yes, that one was very fun. The middle school is also, things are going pretty good. They had their writing benchmarks on the 11th and the 12th this month. Softball and soccer are going pretty well. Humboldt State University is where the 8th graders went for their field trip. They have a Pacific Environmental Education Center for the 8th graders to go to this month. And they're also watching DOGS, Dads of Great Students, and they have been on and off campus supporting students and staff. And then they have their spring break coming up the 8th through the 14th of April. Then Noyo, they had their exhibition week, and that was just before the February break. Every student was required to present to their peers and their advisors. And then as we had learned, some of their seniors were graduating early. We did have the one that came in at the last meeting, and they are, I think they're graduating very soon. It says that Ray had built his greenhouse for the school, and James designed a school spirit shirts to give out to everyone before he graduated. And then Juan from Burn the Wagon podcast is working with the students every Monday in a podcasting and audio recording, as well as social justice issues, Native studies, and a lot of more workshops, which is a really great opportunity for the students. Advisors are working on planning mock interview days, which is scheduled for April 3rd, possibly could change. And then they are starting graduation festivities, and so everyone is excited. That will be on June 5th in Cotton Auditorium. At the high school, spring sports are very active right now. Everyone's very busy with that. Last Friday, we had a bunch of students take the ASVAB in the library. And then next week, we have some exchange students coming from Atsuchi, Japan to stay for a week. And then we also just finished taking our benchmarks in English. Who knows how that went for everyone? And then we also have our break coming up, I believe the second week of April.
Thank you. Number 2, the general obligation bond funds construction project update.
Okay, so really the only significant activity we've had is we did actually get the plan check comments back to QKA. So they'll be replying to them. Their goal is to have all of the responses back by April 5th. And they're thinking that we could have an actual permit to start construction by hopefully early May, like May 1st is the goal. But DSA is taking an exceptional amount of time. So we did meet yesterday to discuss what they could do. And they said basically the groundwork stuff could happen up to where they would need their first inspection. So they could even possibly get started on campus. And we're trying to move that forward because we do have some funding that needs to be expended by June 30th on the project, so that it relieves some of the bond that needs to kick in for things and helps us construct that 4th classroom that we added onto the project for after school programming. So all that seems to be running, and they seem to be very, in our meeting yesterday, very confident that we could get things started even in this school year and really start hot and heavy and right after school's out. So we'll get into the actual reconstruction of the front office and that space at that point. So it's going to get a little bit messy. But Don said he's happy to come maybe next month to give a more comprehensive update because we'll have an idea with DSA where we stand. So.
Okay. Yeah. Are we okay? Doing okay with the streaming? Yeah. Okay. We'll continue. I just had a quick question about that now that we're moving forward. Are there any more points of approval or anything you need from us for this phase, or we've done?
When the GMP has done the final contract amount, he's getting information from the subs right now, so once he has that, we'll bring that to you for
Okay.
final approval.
Perfect.
So we were hoping for the April board meeting for that, when we spoke yesterday.
Okay. Any other?
So you think that we're going to be able to keep the fourth classroom
I think so.
if everything goes well? And so just to, with the discussions we had with Mike McGuire's staff, he wants to talk to someone in the district to know what our shortfalls are with our phase 3. So hopefully with numbers, they were just curious on how, what our phase 3 looked like, and what, they just were more curious about our needs. So I just want to make sure that the district office can connect with them.
I'll reach out.
That's great. They're asking.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, number 3, preschool program update.
Okay, so our preschool, let me get the right thing open here.
Oh, it's a
we go.
PDF, so it'll present a little differently.
So our preschool put together just a little slide presentation to give you an idea. They couldn't be here this evening, but wanted me to present for them. And so everything's nice and bright and cheery for the presentation here. And so our preschool operates in an inclusion model, and so you can kind of see with the different models, the inclusion would be on the bottom right-hand side. And it's where students who are receiving special education services are just mixed in with everyone else. And it's kind of a beautiful thing. So works really well in their setting, and they're doing a great job with that. They go on to talk about the benefits. Students are more likely to interact with peers. They really have better self-images because they don't feel like they're being educated off in the room somewhere where they're not a part of everything else. Our inclusive placements have been really improving student cognitive outcomes, especially for our students with on the autism spectrum. And children with lower social emotional skills really helps them build that, because if we don't give them the opportunity to practice those skills, they're never going to develop them. Typically, developing children in inclusive settings actually have more positive attitudes towards children with disabilities, and inclusive teaching strategies help to meet each child at their individual developmental level, really benefits all students. And the research really says that all students benefit from these placements. On the next slide, you see our team. So we have Erica, the state preschool director. Bryn is our speech language pathologist. We have Heather, our educational specialist, Seneca, our educational specialist, and Jenny, our educational specialist. So awesome teaching team over there, and they have others that support them. All the aides weren't pictured there, but if you ever get in there during the school day, there's a lot of adults moving around to support a lot of the kiddos. They have kind of an outline of their afternoon or morning and afternoon schedules here. You can take a closer look at. I don't think you can see very well probably on the presentation here, but it's all play-based learning, and it's really nice in there. So on the next slide, they kind of outline the student population. In the morning class, they're serving 23 students, and in the afternoon class, they're serving 20. So that's pretty good size for our preschool classes. And you can kind of see the breakdown that there are 9 students who are state preschool only in the AM, 7 in the PM. Special education only, we have 7 in the AM and 8 in the PM, so pretty evenly balanced there. And then students that are enrolled in both, we have 7 in the AM and 5 in the PM. So we have a pretty good makeup of our students that keep a nice balance of students in the program. They do go on to talk about embedded instruction. So they provide embedded instruction, as we were talking about, a student and a teacher just interact with each other in kind of a natural way. The teacher has an objective that they're trying to address, but it's usually while the student is playing, or maybe they've lost interest in something that's going on in the classroom, so they kind of pull them to the side to work on a particular task for a short period of time. But it's all just, if you walk in, it kind of seems amorphous, and then you observe for a little while and you see their strategy and everything that's involved in it. So it's really neat that way. The instructional practices, they use visual supports, social skills training, peer-mediated instruction, task analysis, a lot of prompting happens, functional communication training, video modeling, and reinforcement. So there's always lots going on in the classroom. The lovely part is as these students have been in this classroom and they're moving into our TK and kindergarten programs, they're already doing so much better socially, emotionally. They're really, and the parents are expecting that we continue this model. So that's the plan as we move into next year, is that these students have the same model moving into those grade levels. They have some pictures of the classroom design, so you can kind of see how they're using the space that they have. I think these pictures make it look huge. So I think most of the time when I go in there, there's a lot of little bodies, so it just doesn't seem quite so big then. But you can kind of see from each direction what the look is there. So they have some a small group instruction space where they can have students who need a little bit more focused time, and then a large group instruction space where they can do your traditional carpet time and stories and that kind of thing as they move through the day. They're really proud of these bathrooms, so they really appreciate having really nice facilities that suit the students. And then they have the eating area. Mealtime is a lot of fun there. And then you can see a picture of the motor room on the next slide that's shared with other students at Redwood as well. So there's a lot of really great activities that they have going on there. You see the climbing wall, and in the background there's a wall-mounted swing, and just there's so much good to do there. So, in the outside spaces, they show how it all looks now that it's been all landscaped and everything. The shared outdoor space with the Head Start, and that looks really nice. And if we can afford, with our new TK wing, we would like to put in a TK playground as a part of that as well, so that there's spaces there that are appropriate for the whole range of kiddos that we're serving on that side of the campus. So, and that concludes our presentation.
Great. Any questions, comments?
Looks great.
Yeah, so one day I'd like to pop in because I've only been into the room with no children, so it looks
Right.
huge.
Yeah, so they serve students until 11:15 for them. It's like 8:15 to 11:15, and then I think it's 11:45 to 2:45, 3 o'clock in that area. So
Great. All right, moving on to number 4, campus highlights for the Fort Bragg High School.
Well, we are waiting for Mr. Triplett. Do the preschool teachers ever collaborate with the elementary school teachers? Is there some sort of time for them to do that, or?
yes, and
So
we've been creating some space for them to be able to support the transition to the inclusive practices in TK and K. So we've
Right.
had some meetings.
Awesome.
And when we can't, the teams have been really great about staying extra, and we compensate them for coming in. And
It seems like they've got some nice pieces there that would be beneficial for any age.
yes, yes.
Elementary.
And so that'll keep filtering up, and we'll just keep adding on that program as it moves forward, and we'll have that wonderful support in place for students. So.
All right. Hi, Bruce.
Thank you. As you know, spring gets pretty busy at the high school. Like right now, I think all the students have chosen their classes for next year. So that's what they're currently doing. I think the counselor just got the ones that were absent last week. So we're trying to figure that out. And then when we get back from spring break, I was talking with Ms. Fales this morning, and we've got to get our 45-day letters because graduation is coming soon. So it is a busy time right now. So you can go to the next slide. So I just took a few things. This was some pictures that we had, just so some of the events that we've had at Fort Bragg High School. So this is the linker. They do an annual one at the end of in December at the end of the semester, and just to be in there, kind of have a good time where kids can study with their peers and work on getting ready to prepare for their finals in a little fun environment as well. Avid, as you know, I think I saw the email that you sent it, so it's great. I mean, I think one of the goals for the high school with the support from the school district is getting students on campuses every year, at least every grade level every year. So this was a great one. They visited 6 different colleges, and it's not just universities, it's, you know, I think they went to Cabrillo as well. So it's just great getting kids off campus so they can see what's out there. So I think this was the second. And with Trio, help with Trio as well as Upper Bound, I mean, kids are getting a lot of seeing what's out there. So it's been great. And this was a culinary arts. They went to Harvest Market and Thanksgiving coffee. So it was great to get kids out there that they can see what actually happens in the business world. So it was great for them to go out there and see it. So they had a great time. So they spent a few hours, or I think it was about an hour or so at each place. Lunchtime intramurals, that was one of the things, just have some fun things for students. And currently right now, we're not finished yet, but intramurals has been a big hit. Earlier we do soccer is a big one, and then volleyball. And right now, and we kind of try to match it up with PE so we don't, the equipment's already out there, which is nice. So we have to get it done in the next week because they're moving on. So, I think, but it's been good because it's staff as well as students can play.
See that? Looks like there's more staff out there.
It was.
Yeah.
Spring sports, we barely get, as you can see, there's some that do not have pictures because it was prior to picture day and it's been wet, and so they haven't really been out there in uniforms, and some of them didn't have their uniforms yet. But we have some, you know, our spring sports is a lot. I think that's the biggest time because we have so many sports, and then, you know, as track doesn't help with 100 and something students, so it's our biggest one. So it's been great. Like, I think we had track meet on Wednesday, and we had softball, and I think a quarter of our school or not was gone. So it was definitely weird. So, but no, it's great. A lot of activities for kids. And this is some of the activities at Ag. I think that this was the upper left was they had a dog, so you know they had to explain like what they were, how do you take care of them, which ones does well with families and things like that. And it was a great time. So they had fun. They had it was raining, so they couldn't be outside. So they had a miniature track set up in the library for them to do a little agility test and things like that. It was fun. So I think then Carol's great, and she displayed them for quite a while in the library. The bottom left, that was the ag group went to I think to Butte welding, and they had a contest, and I think they got 3rd place. They had to build a barbecue, so that was their picture. They had a great time. Lower one was a leadership. They took the kids to a leadership little summit, and the upper one was the nice rainy 5K. I got one or two more, I think, slides.
Oop.
Is that it?
No, that's all.
Might be it.
Yep.
Any questions?
Questions?
Exciting.
Yeah, looks like a lot going on. That's great.
Fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Bruce.
Bruce.
All right, up next is the school attendance review board update. SARB.
Can I,
Yep.
because Bruce might leave, I just want to can I get my shout out now, because it's about the high school?
Yeah.
So I just want to give a shout out to the call, and I couldn't find the announcement from Parent Square to see what it was actually called, because I'm going to call it what I called it 8 years ago. But the college and AP night, my son's a very different plan than my first son, but my second son was invited to come, and I just want to say that what they've done with that night is great. The students were there, Lillian was there, and another of her colleagues, so we could hear from students what it's like to carry that load. And the room was full. They had to bring more chairs. So I just want to say kudos to Reed, you know, not just doing the same thing every year, and it was great. So I hadn't been in many years, and it was a packed room and done very well. So thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
So our SARB update, to date, we have served 13 students in SARB. And SARB referrals tend to flow one of two ways. We have students who will come in, and sometimes they're in SARB one time and come to that process, and that's all they need, is just a connection, some supports. We have other students who continue to have attendance concerns, and so while we're only serving 13 students, they might come every other month throughout the whole year, or whatnot. Just depends on kind of what the family needs are and what types of supports that we can offer in those situations. Though on the SARB, right now we have Carolyn Carini is representing the school district. We also have a representative from social services that attends. We have a representative from, I'm trying to remember, it was MCYP, but she has stepped down, so I think we are searching for someone in a counseling position to go there. And then we have Juliana Sanchez from the children's home. So a pretty good representation of the supports that we have available on the coast and can get folks connected. And we're really trying to turn the SARB from something that seems punitive, because just that doesn't really work very well, to get folks in the school into something that encourages kids to come. And I will say, you'll see a slide a little bit later, but our chronic absenteeism as a district, we're down to just over 22% from 39% last year. So,
And
Progress.
how does
Making
one get
progress.
referred to SARB? What's the parameters?
Oh, so for SARB, it starts off at the school level. We send out letters whenever students have missed unexcused absences in excess of 3 is sort of the first SARB letter. And then they get the second SARB letter is if they've continued to have additional absences. And at that point, usually is when the site level team will kick in, principal or the counselor will give a call and say, hey, what's going on? Come and sit down. Let's see if they're at a school level, we can solve that. Most of the time that takes care of the issues, or we get a better understanding of what's been going on, if there's family issues, or if there's, maybe there's just been extended illness has been a thing this year, as folks seem to get one thing right after another. So sometimes that takes care of a majority of the cases that we have, and then if for some reason the attendance still isn't improving, then we make the formal referral. And the SARB meets at the police department in the conference room that they were mentioning before. So it feels very formal and tends to get folks' attention as they come in.
Great.
So how many absences would that, to get to that level, where would you be at?
It varies
Over
student to
18?
student, but it's usually when they would be considered chronically absent, and most of those being unexcused. But there's no hard and fast. I would say on average, in my experience in SARB, the kiddos are missing 20 days or more
Yeah,
out of the
it's
school
over
year.
18, because
Mhm.
you have 9 per semester before you're,
Yeah,
you
before you're
shouldn't
chronically-
meet the 9,
yes.
not like you have
No.
18 days of
Right.
personal time.
Yes, but yeah, if you get beyond that, then
Yeah.
it's pretty significant. So
Mhm.
if at this point in the year they've already missed a month of instruction, then that's getting our attention.
Mhm.
So,
So when you look on Aries, sometimes you see a T for one absent being truancy. So what does that mean? Like it's working towards
yes, it would count towards that
one
count
of
three.
the 18 or the 9 if you're in a semester.
Yeah.
Yeah, my child has 1 T. I'm not quite sure how that is, but we'll figure that out later.
I thought T was tardy.
I was gonna
No.
say T might.
Well, she said it was
count
truancy, under truancy. She was looking at her own,
them.
anyway.
It could also be if she were
I didn't look at it.
if she was tardy more than 30 minutes.
Okay, then it would be a
it's-
big T, a
then
capital
it's-
T.
yeah. That
I thought
that
she had a
counts-
1 truancy, but I know it wasn't anywhere near the limit
that counts in a technical sense.
as one.
As a
absent.
truancy. It's one of those things, if, usually there's an explanation and it's not something we have to follow through on.
Right, I'm not too concerned. Well, and then with the high school, it's different because there's multiple periods, so you'd have to miss the whole day to get the 1. Whereas elementary, you're just either there or you're not.
Yeah,
you
and
know.
it's a little different. I mean, I would
Yeah.
say at the high school, they probably run their process a little differently because while parents are involved, it's a lot more on the student.
Mhm.
Because they can get themselves up into the bus or whatever they
Right.
need to get to school, so.
Okay, that's why there's more truancy for older kids.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, moving on to the local control and accountability planning process.
Okay. So a lot going on. I hope that I know that we just shared out some of these summaries and reports only recently. I hope that you have the opportunity to kind of go through and see things. I haven't counted up how many meetings we've had, but it's been a significant, 15 plus. Yeah.
Somewhere between,
Yeah. And so it's all been great. Of course, my favorite meetings have been the meetings with the students. So you'll see on another slide here that I did really try to feature student feedback. It's a lot of fun being in the classroom with kiddos and just hearing their unfiltered opinions sometimes. So, but as far as our parent and community survey results, I just pulled out a few things from there. We have 79% of our parents feel that staff care about students. 72% feel like a partner in their child's education. So I see some opportunity for some growth there. But we have some good solid numbers to start with. We have 56% of our students, or of our parents, feel that students benefit from our counseling program. However, 35% had no awareness of the counseling program, so they just said, I don't know. So that's, I have to put that caveat in there that if we take that 35% out, 56% looks pretty good. Same thing with our band and drama programs, that 64% feel that our students benefit, or the other 35% really did not know because maybe their child isn't involved. And then 61% feel that students benefit from our visual arts program, and 38% did not have an awareness there. So really it was either yes, they're a benefit, or I don't know because my student's not really involved in that. So really strong with that. We do have the summary with all the pie charts that is linked. I won't belabor going through all of those, but they're an interesting read if you want to take a look through. We will bring a comparative summary to our next board meeting that has each of the categories, sort of what I brought last year, where you have the parents, staff, and students, and kind of similar questions across the board, so you can see how each group is rating that. And we'll also have a nice summary of the comments. We did not have time to go through all the parent comments and get them summarized in a way that we got 146 responses this year. So that was up from 95 responses last year. So it was a respectable increase there. And I think the quality of a lot of the comments we got just felt more genuine and like authentic. I know Bruce, you've had a chance to read over them as well. And so we've shared them with our admin team so they can start to kind of formulate what's going on. We close out our employee survey tomorrow, so then we'll have that data, and we have our student survey is sitting at right at 600 students, I think, have responded. So we've got a good cross-section of
really good.
Our students.
From like Dana Gray.
From Dana Gray
Yeah.
to the high school.
Okay,
So.
yeah. Redwood should have been auditorially surveyed. I'm sure they'd have some input.
See if they give us the thumbs up or thumbs down. So thinking more on the qualitative side of things, some of the student feedback that we've gotten, we had the summary here that you can look through. But some of the highlights, themes that I pull out there, that they really, most students express an appreciation for our sports programs, and if anything would like to see those expanded. That our dual enrollment program gets mentioned a lot and all over the place. In my meeting with our newcomer students, they said it would be great if we had dual enrollment courses that were taught in Spanish. And so that was kind of a neat little piece that they have. And really our students feel that we have a supportive staff, so that's really great. They feel supported coming into the school. Some things that they would like to see change, some themes came out. Of course, more breaks. like a little more time. And I had to explain, if we have more breaks, that means our day gets longer because we have to have a certain number of minutes. And they said, I don't know, let's think about that. So they would like to see a greater number of course offerings. I think that we do a pretty good job, but we're always looking to try to expand that. And they'd like to see, they like the support that we have for college and career, but they'd like to see more increased opportunities to explore different careers and pathways that way. And they would like to see more support for our multilingual learners. So more bilingual supports or in classes and places. So so our students, like I said, though, they had a lot to say. You can look over things. I tried to include the question because questions were just a little bit different depending on which group, because wouldn't ask high schoolers maybe the same question that I'm asking at Dana Gray. They're in the same vein, but they're just kind of teased out a little differently that way. Let's see, what else do we have going on? We've got our overall feedback summary. So there is a comprehensive document that shares pretty much by site. As you move through, you'll see that it's broken out by parents, staff, and then students if they participated. Redwood didn't have that, but and then outlined by strengths and needs. Some common themes that we see as we move through that. Our people are definitely a strength. So relationships that we build are definitely mentioned again and again through those meetings. See the same thing in the comments that we have on our survey as well. So definitely we're doing a good job of establishing some relationships with our community that way. We see bilingual supports comes up a lot. So mentioning that we have good bilingual supports, but also mentioning that it would be great to expand those in any way that we can. Dual enrollment, again, comes up a lot when we're looking at the other input that we have. So we're doing a good job of folks being aware that dual enrollment exists. I think we got to get that message out beyond just our community and out a bit to the state level or somewhere like that, where I realized yesterday they came out with some recognition for successful dual enrollment programs, and I was like, our name needs to be on that list. And I was like, I didn't even hear about ways to apply for it, so it's just, you know, said I'm going to pursue that because we deserve to be there for a rural school. We do a really good job with our participation numbers there. They mentioned that our counseling supports for students are very strong and are appreciated. Some opportunities for improvement were to increase parent and student engagement through various different means, and there's kind of see that in different ways at different sites, all the way from playground equipment up to offering courses and that sort of thing. That we could use more bilingual staff and supports for our multilingual learners, and parent support came up quite a bit, so offering some opportunities for parents to engage with, and I think not in the support to understand the academic world, but support in being a parent. So having a place that they can come and ask questions, and you know, we technically are the child development experts in our community. So just offering that expertise out and allowing parents to benefit from that and providing programming that way. So be looking at ways to be able to integrate all that into our LCAP and some of the programming that we have. Any questions about that portion of things?
What are the next steps?
So our next steps, I will start bringing all this together into the document. They have changed this year the template.
Again.
Because again, yeah, we couldn't have things going the same way for too long. So one of the pieces that really has increased in this particular template is the feedback, and then how does that feed into the document. And so we'll be telling a little bit more of a story. I liked it the way it was. I was kind of getting used to how to do that. So it'll get a little bit more redundant. Unfortunately, you'll see things that are mentioned in the actions, and then it'll also be mentioned in the feedback section that that led into an action. Again, it's not a big deal. It's just it might make the document longer, and it's already a long document. So we'll be working on ways that we can kind of summarize that down into a nice bite-sized document that folks can say, okay, these are the things that we're doing and the actions and services that have responded to people's feedback to us. So, so I hope to get a draft going and present that draft hopefully to the board, at least in a very rough draft format, so you can kind of see some things by the end of April. Also have that bring to our May meeting, but it's one of those, the size of the document is such that you need some time to kind of go through and see. The budget assumptions will not be correct at that point because we will not know what's going on with the budget by that point, I don't think, unless we get some surprises. As far as from a state level, I mean, we know what our local budget will look like. But, and then we will also, this will be presented to the DLAC, so our District English Language Advisory Committee has to approve at least of the outline of it, and then it'll go out to other parent organizations too, so I'll make sure that it gets back out to pretty much all the stakeholder groups. I don't know if I'll send it to the students, I mean, they're welcome to have it. I just don't think they're going to be all that interested in that part of things. That's why I want to create the summary so that can get back to the students so they can see this is how, when we sat down and talked, this is how this is affecting the plan. And then we'll move forward, and hopefully in June we'll have a clear picture and adopt it with our budget. So.
I was just wondering, would it be the next meeting that we might, one of the themes that I'm really interested to see where it bubbles to in in the admin list is the family liaison and this bilingual support. And so when do we get to, do we have any part of the discussion in how that list bubbles up?
Yes.
I mean, do you bring like a proposed list of what might change, and then how those priorities are going to be, or how the money?
I can certainly bring that forward to you. I have it in advance of our next meeting so that we can have that as a part of our discussion in the LCAP next time. I mean, I think that would be, we would have enough data to make some of those assumptions, though I think we are hearing common themes already. And I think that would be very appropriate at our next meeting for, your feedback on kind of where we are with things. I know that we've had many conversations throughout the year, so all of those are a part of it as well. But
and I just wonder if that will help us frame our priorities as we are working on that as the board priorities
With
and
the and
goals.
the equity work,
Right.
Yes.
to really utilize what we're learning with that lens. So my question, the Anchor Academies on the LCAP summary, and is that still kind of on hold or idle, or is it being, is there someone that's that's going?
yes, we're
I know we don't-
continuing and kind of staffing it back up next year. So we
Gotcha, but not this year,
this year it's been going, but it's just been in a more limited fashion. They didn't take
gotcha,
in any
okay. So I
new
know we
10th
lost our
graders
lead
this year.
teacher.
So
Okay,
they just sort of maintained with the existing students.
gotcha,
Next year they'll
okay,
actually start
gotcha,
taking on new students. So.
gotcha, okay. So it's still being supported,
Mhm.
okay.
So is the plan with Josh Brown teaching wood, is that going to be next year then?
We're still working out what
you still-
things. Yeah,
yeah.
we're still working to see how we can make all that stuff work out. But next year we do have a large part, and I see Bruce.
No, I was just gonna say, he's not really teaching wood. I think he's gonna support and use the
support.
facility in there
Oh, right.
and try to do some hands-on things
Mhm.
and activities through Anchor.
And so Katrina
Through
will still
Anchor.
be,
Yeah, right now the plan is it's Katrina, probably Josh for part of it. It's not full-time.
right.
There'll be maybe 2 or 3 periods, depends on how we can, our history is looking.
Mhm.
And then an English teacher as well. I think it's Mike Harris will be there as well.
Oh, great.
And it'll be at least 3 sections probably.
Oh, good, so you'll be able to bring it back.
Yeah, so usually it's the morning section so they can do
Mhm.
community service and things like that, and
Right.
service learning.
That's
Awesome.
great.
Yeah, awesome.
Any other questions?
What did you guys do differently to get such a high amount of responses as compared to last year?
I don't know. I mean, we used some of the same channels, but I think that maybe we're just more persistent with it this year. I think that we also asked, I know that we certainly caught the attention of our track team. And that got that, because we saw those responses come in at a certain time. I was like, okay, I can see in the world how that worked out. And I think also some of the questions we were asking were a little different, and so that got people's attention in a way that sort of gave them more opportunity to give some feedback in a way that was more, I think, just more parent friendly.
Yeah.
You know, I was hoping that's where I was.
Well,
going
and
with
I
it.
really
So,
truly believe it's when you leave an open space for them to say whatever they want.
yeah.
And so they have this audience, because I looked back at when we were searching for a superintendent, we got 148 responses back. So when people really have that open opportunity to say, you know, they can go off script, because I think you could just pick and choose what you wanted to respond to. Like you didn't have
Yeah,
to
there was-
answer every
nothing
question.
was-
So that's huge. So people, I think that, I truly believe that's part of it.
Sure.
Yeah, which I appreciate.
It was on Parent Square more often
Yeah.
this year than last year.
I also believe all the work we're doing to improve our school culture has a lot to do with it as well.
And I think that we're coming out of survival mode.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the questions were, I mean, we're now looking at what to enrich our children instead of just getting them back into school and, you know, and so now I think these questions were at a great time to provide that discussion.
Yeah, more relevant, yeah,
Mhm.
for their, wanting to say what their needs are, for sure.
Well, and they were well crafted, I think. Your questions, excuse me, they were not leading. It was like you got, and had an opportunity to say what you thought for real.
And we got some very honest answers.
Yes, I'm sure. That's good, though.
It was.
Okay, any other questions on this part? Okay,
The second part of the LCAP update, sorry to be so long-winded at this point, but is last month I kind of did just a quick summary of our kind of mid-year check-in. I forgot to include our the financial side of that, so we've included a report that has the financials of that. We're really tracking pretty well on all our expenditures because this plan's been dialed in. This is the third year of it, so it's there are no really concerning areas of that. The more detail is there, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have around it, but it's more a procedural piece at this point that we have to make sure that this was put out to the public. So we did send this out by Parent Square, I believe, to parents, make it available so that they could see, but fully my fault for not getting that part of things on to the previous agenda. So.
any questions?
So will that item appear on our audit for that?
I hope not.
Yeah.
I think the language
very
is
minor.
a little ambiguous
Okay.
with it. That we did have a report.
Yeah.
It just so we'll
Didn't
see.
populate everything in it,
Yeah,
which
we'll,
is.
we'll see what
yeah.
they say with
Okay.
the information that's there. And like I
Yeah.
say, if so, then
Well, that's a minor,
it's a pretty minor thing, and we've already, I think we put it out to our public in a way that acknowledged the timeline that it was supposed to be on, and
gotcha.
so we'll hopefully not see that come up, but we'll know soon because we start audit
Yeah.
stuff very soon.
Yeah.
So. I feel like I'm talking a lot here. So.
That's okay. So my question, I'm really glad we set up these desired outcomes, and we really talked about them the last time we set them up. Are there any areas of concern that you have? I don't mean to put you on the spot. I just,
You mean just in general for the district, or
just
any?
yeah, like midpoint where we are. Are there any-
I don't. I really feel like we're kind of bringing this LCAP in for a landing, and it's really, as you were saying, this LCAP was designed for what are we doing to kind of mitigate everything coming out of COVID. I think we've done a good job at that. I think that we've done an excellent job at managing our finances and really doing everything that we can to benefit our students, and that we're ready to move forward now with a plan that says, okay, now what? What's our next steps, and how are we going to grow this program out? So.
For the LCAP, I talked with a bunch of students about when we took it, and I know a big thing that we talked about was the state of the campuses, and that we we have one student, Ben Shiro, who is talking specifically about our campus, because we are concerned kind of with the garbage, because we lose our condiment privileges if we leave garbage around, and that has been his main motivation to get the school cleaned up, and so he's suggesting like school-wide like clean days, but I don't know about many of the other schools other than Dana Gray, and we've noticed that there's been a lot of trash there during sports, like for cross country we would practice over there, and every week it just seemed like it would accumulate a bunch. And we also did a school like clean day over there, and it was like the next weekend, and we're aware that it's because it is now like an open thing because of the playground, but I feel like the high school's main concern, like my fellow students, we were talking about what we can do to really like make it cleaner. And I think that's what we really want to see, other than like things within classes and stuff
sure.
like that.
Yeah, thank you for that feedback. And I know for Dana Gray, part of the issue was with the new playground and Wiggly Giggly being closed. It was every weekend, all weekend, sun up, sundown, there was somebody out there. So I think that slowed a little bit, but now we have sports kicking in, so it's coming back around again. But how do you feel our access to trash cans and that sort of thing are?
I feel like it's mostly good at the high school. I don't completely know about Dana Gray. I don't see that many around.
Okay.
I feel like we could always put more out. I see them fill up every day, and then if they are full, people tend to just throw it on the ground, which is a little disconcerting. So
For sure.
hopefully we can work on that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was going to say about the trash cans, because kids want them in the parking lots, but I know that the seagulls end up attacking them, so then it spreads it. So I don't know if there's open garbage cans at Dana Gray, that maybe that's what's happening. Because if the garbage cans don't have lids,
I think most of ours have lids.
and whatnot, yeah. In middle school, they are having the condiment issue as well, because they can't have 3 treats now. They can't have because they're making a mess as well. So, but maybe we did see Saturday school offering pickup sticks to pick up items. So I don't know if those are out for lunchtime as well and break for high school kids during the regular day. Because that might encourage people, instead of just doing it. I was mentioning to a former board member, thinking, I hope it's like this during the daytime as well, to offer the bucket that who would like to pick up trash.
I know for sure at Dana Gray they do that if there's a student, because there's some students who are
That
just
love
like,
it. Yeah, it just keeps them.
I'm just not feeling social today. I just want to take a moment and kind of do this thing. And
If
so
you give them the yellow vest or orange vest.
Yeah.
It gets better and
feel
better.
super
That's
special about it.
right.
So.
Yeah.
But I think it's a real thing. We're also talking I got a lot of comments about middle school and the bathrooms there, and so talk with Laura, and there's some things that we're trying to do that might transform kind of the boys' bathroom a little bit. We actually were talking with Barry and he kind of flippantly threw out this idea of putting up chalkboard and paint. So if folks want to create graffiti, give them a space that's
To do it.
and do something positive with it or whatnot. And Laura's like, "Oh, I love that idea." And so, so we might try that out in the bathroom, just to see, versus putting in new dividers and kind of just making it feel very sterile in there. It is a bathroom, but making it feel kind of a little more welcoming to students, and maybe getting some messages in there for the boys that think about going in and being able to write a positive message in there before school starts and see how long it lasts. Never know until you start putting that stuff out, and it's really not that a super expensive experiment there. So
Right.
Any other comments, questions? Great. Okay, moving on. Now we're going to your report, Joe.
okay.
Talk some more for us.
Talk some more. So we have mentioned that we have our second District Safety Committee meeting scheduled for March 18th. So this coming Monday at 3:30 in this very room. And you heard some of the other updates on safety. I did speak with a company called Crisis Go that's around, they're specifically around emergency communications, kind of notification things. So I'm kind of mixed on some of the products that they're offering. I don't know are as necessary in our environment, and some parts of it might be. So I'll bring a little bit of that information to the committee as well, to see if that's something we want to pursue. I don't know that it's hugely different than Parent Square, unfortunately, as far as just, we could program Parent Square in a way that we could send these things out there too. So we'll talk about that. And overall in safety, I think that speaking with Captain O'Neill and Chief Saranka, was just, they came in shortly before our last one, but they said, you really can't say anything about this until we get a few things together. So we're able to present that tonight. So I feel like that's going to really shore up our safety committee in a way that we get that expert in the room that can help us with that. And I talked with Captain O'Neill about being a part of that committee maybe after this committee meeting, as we kind of talk about whatever we've noticed about our internal plan moving forward. So we had collected our California Healthy Kids Survey, and then we realized that we were missing some responses and results for students. So we didn't have any 7th grade responses there, and we're very low participation in our 5th grade. So we opened it back up and said, let's try that one more time, at least for those grade levels. And so we've been pushing that. I don't know if we've closed it just yet, but it'll be closing soon. And hopefully we'll have more responses. So we said we can't really compare to data when I think in the 5th grade we had maybe 15 students respond or something like that. So that's at 70 something before. So that's not really comparable at that point. So we'll have more information on that on the April agenda. I did want to show you on the next slide, we finally got Aries Analytics. We haven't trained staff in it yet, but this is where I was able to tell you that we had just over a 22% chronic absenteeism rate. So this shows our graph of all the different student groups that we have in Aries. We can customize that in many different ways. And this is actually a dashboard, so I just click on a tab and it shows me this every day. It'll show me the exact up to date.
Wow.
You know, if I wanted to go minute by minute, if I had that kind of time. But I know that was the question that we had in our workshop, and so I thought, well, this is a really straightforward way that we can at least look at, this is what our absolute current, as of yesterday, data say. The interesting group that has the lowest chronic absenteeism rate is our students who are reclassified fluent English proficient.
Makes sense though.
It does. It was just an interesting aha. I think I went around the office and told people, I was like, I'm really fascinated by this. You know, let's talk about that. Our group with the highest percentage, as we might imagine, are our homeless students, just because those are some challenges that they're facing. So anyway, a very telling graph. The really cool part is for the administrators, they can click on the red part of the graph and it brings up a list of the students.
Wow.
So it's that quick that it's literally real-time data that they can just take action on if they want to and move forward. So we're finding some cool little pieces with this, and I think we're just scratching the surface of the things that we can do here. So.
Is that something you could send us, that slide, because I can't really read it?
Oh, for sure, yes.
Just the
I'm
slide,
sorry,
yeah,
I knew it wouldn't display great. I just wanted to give you
It's great.
an idea, but yes, I can.
They're what?
They're in your Google Drive.
Yeah, are these, after the fact, are these attached to the agenda item in Gamut?
Finished, yes.
Okay.
They go on to the minutes.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Right, his
Sorry to
report,
interrupt.
Yeah.
These are in your board.
Right, okay.
In our fiscal, you'll hear a little bit later on about our second interim budget report. So a huge thank you to Wendy for getting that together and making it look good, but really a huge thank you to Wendy for our district being in a better fiscal condition than many of our surrounding areas. They broke some of those cardinal rules about budgeting and put a lot of people into the one-time funds.
Yeah.
We did not do that.
Right.
And so we're seeing layoffs that are happening. Sonoma County, I think I've heard of at least 130 teachers or so being laid
Yeah.
off.
Oh my God.
It's probably more than that at this point, but it's really my fellow superintendents, when I met with them last week, were kind of in awe that we were in the position that we were. And I said, we have an excellent CBO.
Yeah.
So thank you. Under grants, we're applying for 2 different grants this month, actually this week. One is for a position called a certified wellness coach. And so the state released some grants around this, where this is a position that sits somewhere between a counselor and, say, a behavioral aide. So would require like an associate's degree, that level of certification. We do have Thrive Counseling has agreed to hire and manage these folks, at least from a clinical standpoint, if we do get the grant. And so we have a letter of agreement that we put in as a part of the grant for that. The grants are about, let me say it's $68,000 per coach, and so that Thrive felt that would be adequate to cover the school year, next school year, and then into the summer and fall. Basically waiting for the Medi-Cal reimbursement. They're adjusting Medi-Cal reimbursement to include this position as well, and the work that they're doing, so that it can be reimbursable to schools. So it could be one of these things that actually funds itself in the future to continue these positions, is what we're hoping. We went big and asked for 5. So we'll see if we get that. I got the impression they extended the grant out, and that usually to me means that they haven't had a lot of applicants, and so I think that it could be favorable. We also have Mendocino College actually has a program that would lead someone into this certification. So it's really kind of in this really golden zone for a rural place that we can apply for this. So I'm cautiously optimistic. That's I've also applied for the 21st Century School Leadership Academy. This grant will help support our district and site leadership to attend what's called the Breakthrough Leadership Institute at the University of Southern California. It's one of those things we can't afford to do it if we don't get the grant, but if we do get the grant, it's an amazing opportunity for us to take a problem of practice from some of our equity work down to USC, have access to some of their best and brightest in sort of, we get put into a breakout room, and they come work through different parts of our problem of practice through like the 4 days that we're there to help us kind of leave with a plan of how we're going to attack that both at the district level and at the site. So if we get funded for it, it's going to be an amazing opportunity for us. So, transportation update, we had temporary chargers that have been installed to support our new electric buses. So you'll see them around town now. We can run them and recharge them overnight. We only have 2 chargers that are available. That's all the circuits at the bus barn can handle. Talk a little bit more about what we're doing to change that up a little bit later with our PG&E stuff. But you'll notice they have the little green bird with the that's the big distinction. If they're sitting still, you wouldn't notice anything else. It's a school bus. But if they're driving past you, you notice a big difference. They're much quieter. You still know a big vehicle's going by, but it's not, you don't have the diesel engine at the tail end rattling everything. So, and as was mentioned before, we have our visit from our students from Osuchi coming in next Thursday, the 21st, and they'll be here for about a week. And so this slide has a little bit of our history about that. So started in 2001, and the cultural exchange program actually started in 2002, but really the basis for it was there. And then it was just every 2 years until the March 11th, 2011 earthquake that happened. And so we're resuming this year, and we're going to host 8 students. They're going to get a really nice view of our campus. I think all of our campuses, they get to go to, they'll start here at the high school, and then Dana Gray, Redwood, and then the middle school, I think, or some, we got the schedule in our, they're also going to get kind of the normal student experience. So they're going to eat breakfast with our students, they're going to eat lunch with our students, and get to see kind of how the day runs. So it'll be a joy to host them next week.
Have our students been there yet, or is that trip
Not
later?
yet, so that's
Okay.
that will be in the
In the fall?
It's in the fall.
Okay.
fall. Yeah. So-
We had, yeah, they have before.
Yeah, no, it's a great program.
Yeah, and they try to line it up, I think, with close to our whale festival time, and then they have a festival in Osuchi that sort of lines up in that September area, so so we can.
Some sort of lantern, lantern festival, if I
think
remember
so.
correctly, yes.
And then I have a few pictures just to so you see where some of our students have been. So we had middle school kudo students actually attend a conference at the Capitol. It was the Region 1 After School Network sort of funded that piece. So this just happened this week, so they got to go up and advocate for and tell their stories about how after school has really supported them in coming out of the pandemic and things. So I heard there were some pretty powerful stories, and some of our kiddos had the whole room in tears kind of thing. So pretty amazing there. This very afternoon, we had students from our Interact Club running our Rotary meeting, so that was a lot of fun for us. They enjoyed giving lots of fines out to our different members, and said that they were collecting them all for the Interact Club, which we gladly paid. And then finally, just so you see some feedback from the Innovation Grant funding, this is some of our students in our digital media program, just expressing their appreciation for the 3D printer that we've got. They've got their first print. It's just a little cube that they're holding there. But I'm sure there'll be many great things that come out of that. I've heard thank yous echoing up and down through the district with the different things that they have going on. So be excited to see how those come along.
So the 3D printer is the item that looks like a microwave?
Yes. Yeah, it's in
Huge.
a cabinet, so it keeps some of the noise down.
Okay, got you.
They can be a little noisy because it's a carriage going back and forth
Gotcha.
the whole time. And it takes hours to print, so it will be like going
Loud
through
for a long time.
through a
Okay.
school day. So. All right. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay, moving on to number 8, California Schools Employee Association. No, nothing? Number 9, Fort Bragg District Teachers Association.
We attached the sunshine letter, but I believe you saw that last time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it confused me. It's like,
Okay, thank you so much for your input and staying.
you.
Much appreciated. Thank you, Bruce. Moving on to the consent calendar. Kathy, if you want to read through the items.
Well, I just realized when I don't, when I just have the, oh, well, that's the same ones I have, okay. Usually we have the dates, but, okay. The consent items for this month are the warrants.
If you want them in.
Oh, they're up there.
Oh, they're up there?
It's-
Sorry.
Okay, then you guys can look at
Yeah.
them while I read them.
Lots of
Minutes
clicking.
from the various meetings, the personnel action forms, and the contracts.
All right, is there any item that a board member would like to remove from the consent calendar? Is there any discussion on any items? I know I had a couple questions about the contracts. I don't want to pull anything, but I asked these during the board chat, so I just thought I'd ask again briefly now. I know with our MOU with MCRPD, I was curious where the amount of $250 came from.
Right, and so that's been traditionally what we have had with them, and so we've continued that and then added the employee costs when the times that it's not very often that they need to use an employee, so it kind of made sense there.
Okay. And the only other question I had was the university student teaching services. I never heard of that university, and I was just curious if we have multiple contracts with different institutions, and I
Yes.
think we do.
Yeah, so pretty much every time that we have a student teacher, they want a multi-year contract, and I say, hey, if you had one student, there might be another. Why not? And so we had a student teacher from here this last year, and they just wanted to extend their contract out, I think, for a 5-year term. So.
Okay. All right, with that, is there a motion to adopt the consent calendar?
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great, all those in favor?
Yes.
Aye, okay. Is everyone okay to keep going? 7:30, yes, okay, great. Moving on to board action, 11.1, first one is the transportation safety plan.
So we decided this year to include our home to school transportation plan in our transportation safety plan because it was kind of a more substantial document. What I felt like we brought to you last year was checking the box, but it didn't really outline very well what went on in the district as far as this is concerned. So this outlines a little bit more comprehensively what our safety protocols are, as well as what our home to school transportation plan is. So it's a nice document that meets all of the requirements, but also is, I feel, better bringing to you as a professional product. So.
Okay, are there any questions or comments? Is there any public comment about
There
this
is none.
item? Okay. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve item 11.1, transportation safety plan.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Perfect. Roll call.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Perfect, thank you. 11.2, the 2022-23 audited financial statements.
Okay, this year's audit was a little later than usual. They're normally due to the state in the middle of January, but because our J13 from last May didn't get, and most of the ones in the county didn't get approved, they were all extended until February. No, this is March now, isn't it? Well, actually, it was done in February. We had it at the end of February, and they sent it up to the state at the end of February, but you aren't getting to see it until March. I always, and I've said this every year, I think, the first thing I do when I look at an audit is I go to the end of it and find out where any comments were. I was actually expecting another one, but with the help of people who know more than I do, I got a real education on immunizations, and I was able to convince them of the error of their assessment on that. So we didn't have any finding on the immunizations, which means we didn't have any question costs. So that would have been a biggie if that had happened. So the one finding that is there was 3 years ago when we approved the expanded learning opportunity grant plan. I don't even remember the name of it anymore. We approved it on the 13th. It was actually supposed to be delivered to the county by the 18th, and it wasn't delivered to the county until the 25th. So that's the one finding that is in here. There are no question costs, not a repeat finding, no corrective action needed because there was no funding associated with the delivery of the report to the county. We even tried calling, did anybody happen to watch that meeting live at the county? Because then we could say they had it, information. We tried everything and nobody could remember having seen it. It was up on our website when it was supposed to be, but they just didn't get over the hill in time. So that's the one finding there. I don't think there's anything else in here that, I don't know if you want to go over anything else that's in here. It's pretty rote stuff. There's the transition between the fund accounting that we do and the real world type accounting. So there are those adjustments. So when you look at a financial statement, it looks a little different than the next financial statement you're looking at. We're actually already starting interim field work for this year, and I will be reaching out to you, I forget who's on the committee, to set up a meeting with the auditors, Zoom meeting with a couple board members, and they would like to do a meeting with the superintendent. And then we'll finish up the interim field work, and then we'll be off the hook until the fall when they do the year-end field work.
Right. It's Scott and I.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
This is
I'll
the
reach
list.
out to you and arrange a time for you to meet with them.
Whoever's- So those are that's the only finding. In years past, we haven't really had anything major other than maybe the school office checkbook didn't reconcile by 6 cents. I mean, that's the only thing I've ever, yeah.
No.
I mean, not this year, but I'm just saying in years past, it's pretty minor findings.
I trying to remember if we've ever had a finding since then. There was
Something
one
with ASB.
There was
early
something
on.
with a
Yeah.
check, yeah, it was
Yeah, it
something,
was
6
something,
cents.
yeah, with ASB.
Yeah,
But
something.
again, not a material weakness or anything, so.
And so that
Our,
nothing's,
our crew does a really good job.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing, and they,
perfect.
Okay, any other questions, comments on this item? Is there any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
All right.
no public comment on the audit.
With that, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the 22-23 audited financial statements.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Perfect. Roll call, please.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Perfect. Moving on to 11.3, second interim report certification.
So for this document, we have we're working on the governor's January assumptions, which had a COLA of 0.76 for next year. They did have an increase in it, I think 2 point something and 3 point something in the 2 out years. There's been a lot of discussion about whether even the 7.76 can be maintained, although the state Senate has said that they're going to try to maintain the educational spending that the governor presented in January. There's still a lot of work to do there, but if they can, it will be wonderful. We just really hope they do it without the deferrals that we saw a few years ago, because that made everybody a little crazy, because it's a little bit like the state gets to say they spent less money, but then the month after the end of the year, or sometimes 2 or 3 months later, they give us back the money, but we still have to show that we got it, because we have to base the budget on those numbers. So it's a real game that we hope they really decide not to play, because it makes everybody's life miserable. But it's one option that could be on the horizon, although it looks like more like they're talking about borrowing from future years to do this. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in May and then in June also. The biggest differences between first interim and now are the final appropriations came in January, so we have a better idea of what we're supposed to get this year. So those have been reconciled. There were a couple of new resources that we finalized what the amounts were going to be, the equity multiplier, and there was one other one in there that we finally got a little bit more clarity on what we're going to have. We've started budgeting some of these other one-time grants that we've been receiving, or even some of the ongoing ones. We have a better idea now of what we're going to do, so more of those things are being budgeted out. There's still quite a bit of one-time money that we're still using. A lot of those one-time grants run out in '26. So after that year is when we'll have to really actually leading up to that year, we want to take a hard look at some of the things we're doing to decide if we want to roll them into other resources that are ongoing funds, or if we want to change those programs. The stock market continues to be strong, which helps our STRS and PERS funds not have to go up. There's no scheduled increase in the STRS right now, and very modest increases in PERS. So that's encouraging and helpful. Presidential election years are always volatile, so we don't expect this one to be any different. I think everybody understands that it could be a very different scenario one way or the other, depending on what happens in November. And with whatever uncertainty there is, we do have sufficient reserves to make more gradual changes if they do need to be made. So we won't be seeing the kind of wholesale slashing that has happened in the past, and some districts are seeing now, because we do have sufficient reserves to weather that for a while. And it is a positive certification. So.
Because I think when I came on the board in 16, I believe we only had 3%. That what we were
They're required, right? And now
Just
the
three-
board
now we
has
have
established a required
9.
9% above the 3%
So
required
it's
for economic uncertainty.
Yeah, taken a while, but it is a much better place to be sitting than in 16 when we have people pleading to us and having to try not to make emotional decisions. Like, you want to make sure that you're sustaining programs that are effective, and not just because people are crying in the audience because, their child's going to lose a program, or their, family member is going to lose a position. So I'm so glad that we were able to somehow get to this place, because it'll be, like you said, much easier to make decisions more gradually with programs and maybe not people.
Well, and really, you deserve a huge thank you, Wendy,
Yeah.
for getting us there and giving us the nudge to do that. And you do all this with great transparency and open book, so it's pretty amazing. I think we're pretty lucky.
I always sleep better at night now that we have a good reserve in there.
Well, thank you.
I just had one question, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just, this gets submitted. So the page before the common message,
Mm-hmm.
it's the second page of the general fund restricted compare, first interim, second interim. There's under total expenditures, the difference seems wrong.
Okay, which page are you looking at?
It's the one right before the common message. 89, I think. I don't have a,
Let me try to go there.
for total other financing and total expenditures. The difference column. Or the change column, sorry.
Oh, yeah, the total other financing, that is definitely incorrect.
Okay, and the total expenditures, that's all, I mean, just
Yeah,
just
that's
before
an
you submit
incorrect
it.
formula.
Yeah.
Don't know where that came from.
And then I know we had to make a motion about a reserve for the buses. Is that still, what, did we get?
It's looking like we might not have to,
Mhm.
that they might hold off on collecting until it comes through. But even if we did, we would still be just fine.
Okay.
And we'll just repay it when the state comes through with the grant money.
Okay. And they were able to send someone to fix whatever the issue
Yes.
was with the buses? That was a
They
little
sent
scary.
somebody out to address it. It seemed to be the same, so I don't know if we just got a bad batch of whatever part failed, but I think they fixed it, and they're good and running well.
Great. I know it's not part of the certification, but just thought I'd ask. Is there any other questions or comments on this item? Is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the second interim.
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
And Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Perfect. 11.4, California Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act.
So I'm just gonna keep referring to that as CUPCA, if you're okay with that, because it's a bit of a mouthful.
Yes.
So CUPCA is a way that we can apply. Under CUPCA, we basically put out to a couple of trade unions that we're going this. We solicit folks to respond to us and say, yes, I want to be on your list. So every time we have a project come up, we send out that's within their area of responsibility. They get a notice saying, hey, we've got this project. They can come take a look at it, give us an informal bid. It just speeds up the whole bidding process, that we don't have to go through all the posting and that kind of thing. And it's only for projects that are $200,000 or under. So we're not talking huge projects, but they're things that tend to come up where you have to have kind of a more nimble response around things. So it'll give us a little bit more flexibility there, and just be more efficient with our staff time and everything. There's also the possibility at some point, if we wanted to engage a service that maintains those lists for us, so we don't even have to do that. And they're out there, so that could be something that we look at in the future. And Barry and I were discussing. He said, I don't feel like that's really necessary right now, but I just wanted to put it out there that could be something in the future that we look at if we get into a particular situation where we can't find a vendor that's compliant. It also tends to benefit our local economy more, because we're able to really reach out to folks and say, hey, get on the DIR list so that we can put you here, and we can move through that process pretty quickly and award something much quicker. So.
There's really no disadvantage to it. There's no negative
it's
exposure of any sort. Yeah.
No. And it's been time tested. I mean, I think this has been around for quite some time at this point.
I just wish they'd increase the 200,000.
Right.
It seems like such a, today's costs and,
For sure.
Yeah.
And they may, sometimes they'll go back and say, oh, now adjusted for inflation from this point forward or whatnot. But that's where we are for now.
Okay, any questions or comments? Is there any public comment?
There's no public comment.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the CUPCA resolution.
And I'll second Resolution 2402.
Thank you. I know sometimes we read these, but this seems a little long, cumbersome, so if everyone's okay, we'll just, roll call, please.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
And Trustee Makala?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, moving on, 11.5, contract with Pacific Gas and Electric.
Okay, so this contract would, with the board's approval, allow us to reach out to PG&E and say that we're on board with moving forward with that project. It doesn't commit us to the deed or any of that kind of thing. Those are separate conversations we'll have in just a moment. But it does at least get us on their schedule, because the longer we don't sign the contract, the more it gets pushed out. So hopefully this, with the approval of this, we can send it back to them, get on their schedule, and if for some reason we decide not to move forward with some of the other pieces that are required, no harm, no foul. We're just, at least we're not pushed off another month and another month that way. So.
Okay.
Is there any cost to just signing the contract, committing to it? No.
At this point.
No exposure.
No, it's all covered up to basically to our meter. And so they'll cover the cost through grants, through the state, and through some of the fees that they collect in your monthly statement.
Increased now.
Yes.
Again.
Yeah.
And again.
Is there any other questions or comments? Is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the contract with Pacific Gas and Electric.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Perfect. Roll call.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Perfect. 11.6, action to adopt resolution number 2403, declaring intention to convey an easement to Pacific Gas and Electric Company for public utilities purposes.
Okay. So this does not mean that we are conveying the deed. It just means that we have the intention to. So it basically sets up at the next board meeting, not next as in next week when we do our session, but our next regular board meeting, that we would have a public hearing. So this basically is the notice to the public that says, hey, we have the intention of doing this. This will be put also into the newspaper so that we've done all our formal notice. It gives the public the opportunity to come in and say, no, I don't think that's a good use of public funds. I don't think it'll be very much of an issue in this situation, but it is the official process that we must follow when providing an easement of any sort. So with the approval of this, we'll be able to bring that forward to you in April. We'll meet all those noticing requirements so that we can then have you vote on the deed itself. And then once that happens, we'll have our legal team will do what we need to do to make that official with the county and move forward.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
I'll move to approve the resolution 24-3, declaring intention to convey an easement to PG&E.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
And Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, at 11.7, Proposition 28 funding proposal.
So we discussed last month advertising positions for art and music teachers and funding that through Prop 28. As I looked at it, I realized we had to have a formal plan. So, of which there is no guidance as to what the plan needs to look like.
Another report.
Yeah.
So this is my best guess based off of just the information I saw from some other districts and what they had put forward. The plan outlines are, as we talked about, for art and music teacher. It also includes, this year we added on, drama was a new program, and so we're able to add that in as well for the high school. For our alternative education campus, you can see all told they get about $8,000 to $9,000. So it's not really much to be able to do a ton with. We'll look at what we can do there. We do have some ability. 80% has to be spent on personnel employed by the district. So the other 20% that would fall within that we can maybe contract out some services or something there. We're being a little cautious with that, just waiting to get a little more guidance on it, just because it's been pretty scant at this point. We don't want to get in a point where we're like, oh, well, that's going to have to move back over to the general fund or something like that. I mean, it's a possibility. That's why we only want to do that, any questionable cost, that in a very small amount. So.
Right, gotcha.
Okay, any questions or comments?
So your formula to allocate to each school is something similar that you use with other type of funding? 'Cause
Actually,
obviously-
the allocations came from the state.
Oh, interesting.
So they
For grade
allocated
level?
it.
Oh,
yes.
wow, okay.
So it's this weird situation where
So
they
just so the
allocate
public knows that this is why.
by school site, and then the spending requirements are by the LEA. So we're not, again, it's a very different sort of, we said it's almost like they're making this intentionally difficult.
We originally thought that if you look at those smaller amounts, that 80% of the $1,700 at Shelter Cove was going to have to be spent by site, was which they originally said, and now they've corrected that and said, no, the 80% threshold is by the district.
Total.
So we can do other things with we can use the 20% in different ways. Like Joe said, we have to spend 80% of the overall amount that we're getting. And this just shows you how the sites generated the 80%, or the total.
No, yeah, the 51st or 50th report you have to do, another one, right?
Yes. Well, and as we were looking through, we also found, we have to fill out some kind of certification, and fortunately Wendy had already done that as a part of
Something
a
else.
Yeah, there are
large
so
group.
many other things that once it's done, it's gone.
Yes.
Forgot about it. So.
Anyway, for a confusing process that they're literally building as we're flying it here, this is where we are with it. But everyone has been very positive at the idea of having additional art and music support.
Of course.
And our drama program, I think, will just continue to grow. It's doing a great job at the middle school. High school, not so much, but I think it was something we added on late, and then we had a staffing change this year, and so that the program will grow. We've got a lot of students coming up who will want to be a part of it. So.
Right.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Is there any public comment?
There's no public comment.
Thank you. Always like to ask. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve item 11.7, Proposition 28 funding proposal.
And I'll second.
Perfect. Roll call.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
And Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Perfect. 11.8, certification of athletic coaches.
So this is just a routine certification. We make sure in our human resources department that our coaches meet these basic requirements as a part of the course of their employment. And so sometimes they get tired of hearing from us, but we can say that all of our coaches do meet these requirements. So.
Okay, any questions or comments? Any public comment?
No, there's no public comment.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the athletic coaches certification.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Perfect. Roll call.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
And Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Thank you. 11.9 FBUSD District Facility Use Fee Adjustment.
Wendy, did you want to provide some background on?
Oh, sure.
I know we talked about it last time. I didn't know if there were any questions or anything.
Right. The only adjustment here is to adjust the charge for personnel costs because this was approved originally in 2017 or 18, and our personnel costs have gone up significantly, and so it wasn't covering even our costs. I mean, we're not
Right.
making money on any of it, but it wasn't keeping up, so we're proposing to change those.
Okay, any questions or comments?
So the only one, and I think this is what it's requiring, is, so that does the staff have to be there, like you have it under kitchen during the time that it's being reserved, because, so that it can return back to ready for school?
So, well, there's two things. One is somebody with a food handler's license has to be present if there's
Gotcha.
any food preparation being done.
Okay,
And our district policy is for there to be a district food service person on hand whenever anything is being accessed other
Right.
than serving and washing up,
right.
so.
So the whole
and-
time that it's being rented
Yes.
or used?
And then the custodian is the same thing because they have to, if it's not during their regular shift, they have to come in, they have to open up, they have to
Yeah.
be there the whole time, be available if anything goes wrong, and then be there to close up afterwards, so.
Okay.
In the kitchen, it has to be a kitchen manager certification, so not just the simple food handlers, so it's,
Using equipment and tools, yeah.
it's a higher level, yeah.
And it looks like for the facilities, it's double for commercial for-profit, but the labor is the same for either group.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not, like I said, we're not trying to make money, we're just trying to recoup our costs on personnel.
And return it back to the classroom if it's a classroom. Yeah.
All right, any other questions or comments? Is there any public comment on this?
There is no public
Okay.
comment.
Yes, oh, there we go.
Oh, I'm
Please,
sorry.
Oh,
thank you.
Hi,
Live
I'm
public
Kylie
comment.
Belisich with Mendocino Coast Rec and Park District. And I met earlier with Mr. Aldridge and Ms. Boyce about this MOU change, and I want you to know that we are very much supportive of the change. We understand it. We are finding our relationship and our cooperation with your facilities is our most important contract, and that what the custodians do for the kids of this community when we use your facility is priceless. And so I just want to say thank you, and that we absolutely are grateful to the continuation of the MOU even under the new pricing, and we support it, and thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for acknowledging the staff. It is amazing.
Yeah, they are,
pretty
everyone's
phenomenal.
amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the facility use fee adjustment.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
And Trustee Mackler?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Perfect. 11.10 Mendocino Coast Recreation and Park District request to place a shed on district property.
Okay. So we received a request to place a shed either near Piver or Pavioni Field. For me, that was not a problem other than drawing up the MOU. I think it's a wonderful partnership that we have with MCRPD and providing support for our youth programs, from basketball to baseball to soccer to, just, every time you see our littles out playing, MCRPD is usually involved with that, that process. So they've been a good partner to us, so we thought this was a fairly small ask to return some of that support they've offered us in our community here. So.
And in the diagram has Barry and the high school coaching staff been consulted on where?
Yes.
Because I know we had an issue with a fence a
Well,
few years
right,
ago.
but I
and
think the shed's already there. Is that, the shed's already there? I see a new shed.
Not yet.
No, there is something new on this field, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, I'll ask Barry about that. See.
It's kind of like
But no,
approving
it
the.
hasn't been constructed yet, but
Okay.
Barry's involved in the.
Yeah,
the-
I don't, maybe it's something else, but there is
Yeah.
something new. By Piver, it's got, I don't know,
Okay.
So I
I'll
didn't know if
take a
this,
look at it.
that was my first question, is to find out if that's what this is,
Yeah,
or.
nope, not yet. We
Okay.
wouldn't have put it there without board approval first, so.
Something
So I'll
needs
find
it.
out what that is.
Yeah. And
Um,
maybe-
My only comment or question is, do we want to put any stipulation in there for maintenance, repair, or replacement if damage occurs? I didn't see anything in there.
I did not add anything necessarily there.
Just to make sure it's clear who's responsible.
Right, who is responsible for the
Repair
maintenance of it?
Well,
or
it-
replacement.
It does say the MCRPD will maintain its policies of comprehensive liability insurance and property damage coverage. So,
You
I'm
want it to
happy
stay
to-
nice looking.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
who's
it's just,
painting it
you
when it
know,
I
starts
mean, I can add a
looking-
clause in there.
Okay,
that
Yeah,
that's-
has
because who's
something to
who's
that.
gonna paint it when
just
it,
that they'll properly maintain it and,
For sure.
you know, there's some damage that doesn't cause insurance, you know.
right,
It's
yeah, it doesn't
below
reach that
the,
level, right?
yeah, exactly. New shingles on the roof or whatever it is.
and then does MCRPD actually have an office on North Harbor Drive? They do, okay, because I was thinking, I didn't know that, so no longer at the CV Star location, that's the business office?
Yeah, so I can give you a quick update. MCRPD parted ways, we began the parting of ways on August 2nd from CV Star. And so we concluded a 6-month transitional period where we were housed at CV Star, which was great. And now we've relocated to 401 North Harbor, which is the former travel agency.
Oh, awesome, okay.
And we're emerging from kind of a long period that was a difficult time for our district. And we have an amazing board now, and we are financially sound. We're almost caught up on audits. We have clean audits. It's looking very good for our district, and we're all about programs. We're running lean and mean. We just want more for our community. We're trying to be as inclusive as possible with mainstreaming programs for people with special needs, which has been exciting. And CV Star does a lot of that, and it's fun. It's really fun to have everybody involved as much as possible. And we do have a gymnastics studio behind the food bank. Other than that, we do not own any property except for the Botanical Gardens, for which we're a landlord. And we have a 100-year lease with them, with the gardens. And we cover from Westport to Wallala. And we have MOUs with the city of Fort Bragg, who's a very important partner. And we hope to be their park and rec district for many years to come. And we hope to be an extension of Fort Bragg Unified School District with being a feeder program. We want to improve sports in your schools by getting volleyballs in the hands of girls in 3rd grade instead of in 6th grade, things of that nature. And so this shed would be for our softball, co-ed softball men's league, and our kickball, which is going to be our pilot program for an inclusive program, because people who aren't necessarily athletic enjoy kickball, and it's fun, and a lot of people, regardless of their skill, can get involved and have fun. And on behalf of the board, we also wanted to offer, and I did tell Barry this as well, that this shed is going to house a Polaris, which is a side-by-side, and that we've offered use of that to the district, and anything that's in that shed, we would also like to share with the district if you needed it. And Barry's biggest concern was the security of the shed, and he's offered to turn a camera to face the doors, which I thought was extremely generous. And Mr. Aldridge said that this was a small ask. I actually thought this was a big ask, and I really appreciated how quickly this got on the agenda, and we're thrilled to death that you guys are considering this. And we will build it with the colors that Barry has specified to match Fort Bragg Little League's shed. And we will have security. It's covered by Capri, which is the Park and Rec insurance. And it will be light enough that if we ever have to move it for any reason, per your request or otherwise, that Rossi can lift it out with their forklift and we can get it out of there. And we would be responsible for the shed solely and the equipment inside.
Do you mind just stating your name for the record?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Kylie Felicich, and I'm the district manager.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments about this item? Is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
Thank you for that update.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. Good question on the address.
Yeah, it's nice to see that building activity in the trial agency building. I was wondering what was happening in there, because I drive by every day. I'm like, oh, what's going on?
Anytime, we invite the public.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So with that revision, addition
Yes.
of the maintenance, I move to approve the MOU.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
And Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, so moving on to 12.1, board reports. Whoever would like to start?
I'm checking a date real quick because my second
Oh.
little shout out.
Thank you, Kylie.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I guess I'll start quickly, just a shout out. Well, middle school's my site, and so I was lucky to go to the middle school rally for their kind of the end of the fall sport, and they did more activities that included staff and kids, but not like a basketball game like traditionally. They had other types of little games that were across the board anyone could play without any injury. And so that was really fun. And I don't know if their PA system wasn't working because maybe the mics were, or if it was very difficult to hear. So I don't know what's going on with their system, but I thought, oh gosh, they've got good things to say,
Oh, no.
but you couldn't hear.
Oh.
So I'm hoping that can be checked out. And then since I was there, Laura said, I don't want to divert you, but the mindful work martial arts is happening like in 10 minutes.
Very cool.
So I was able to just sit in the auditorium because they're just right there in front of the stage because there's a space issue because they can't be in the gym and the band. Anyway, so hopefully that'll work for them, that space. But they had 11 kids and had offered it for 20. And they hoped that once, that was the first day, and they had a survey and intake, and they got quickly through that 45 minutes. So it sounds like every school's doing that on Friday.
Yeah,
So
they're in
it'd be
town
fun to
Friday.
just pop in like once a month, because it'll happen at the end of the year, just to see if the group's growing and just to see their skills grow. So what I saw, I was really happy with the engagement with the kids. I mean, right away, everyone wanted to be there. So that was really exciting. And I think we did the legislative action, of course, and that was really, we were able to give the tidbits about the reporting, that maybe even if there was maybe a portal that everyone can access and that the agencies can talk together and consolidate some of the reports, and then to get away from the one-time money, which requires a report, because they were, on that call, we were a small school, the other school was 6,000, and they had, a assistant superintendent, and they had, a grant writer. Even with that big of a difference, they had extra people, and I said, our district office whittled down our staff, and then now with all the reporting and all the other requirements, we needed to hire, we couldn't work at the right efficiency with what we had. So that's clearly from the reports and the reporting. So we had like real live information to give them. And I think the other issues were the bond, and then the second gentleman that we spoke with, he really didn't feel like that CDE position would happen. I mean, from what he knew, but he felt like our input saying, let the small districts have more time to apply and maybe allocate a portion so that the big dogs don't, swoop it all up before we can even think about applying because we don't have a position in-house. So he seemed receptive to that.
I suggested they do it like CTIG, so
Yeah.
that there's a portion for the big schools,
Yeah.
but there's
Right.
something for the smaller and middle schools, yeah.
And I don't know about the actually having bond on, they didn't seem very happy or didn't really feel like that bond measure was going to go. But and he also did talk about deferrals, because something was announced today, which I didn't hear. The early, like Mike McGuire said something like they were going to try to offset this deficit earlier. So something was mentioned, so I don't know how they're gonna,
Something came out like as we were walking
yeah,
in
like
the room.
literally
and
like
we've only
today.
had-
And he thought we knew
Few
about
is
it, and I thought, all I heard was deferrals, and I thought, oh,
Yeah, I heard that word.
yeah, so anyway, but.
Well,
Pass the
that
mic
was
to you.
really, I thought it was one of the better legislative action days that I've done, and I think I've done it every year. I went to the Dana Gray Spring Book Fair the day I got back from vacation, and it's so much fun to be with the little kids, and it's so cute when they come in with a bag of money, and it's like, it's so okay, and I'm counting quarters and dimes and whatnot, and the other lady, a mom working there, she and I took turns and ran out to our car and got some change, and it's like, yep, you've got it, and so everybody got what they were hoping to get, so that was really fun. And then I wanted to just put a shout out for the Friends of Mendocino College Coast Center, our group, especially because I'm not going to be running for the next election, and so we really need another person from this group to join us, and so I wanted to invite anyone to come. We're having a meeting April 18th. I'm going to stay on the board, or the committee, whatever. And so anyway, if somebody else can join me on the 18th, even you can come virtually if you need to, but that would be really great.
That's right.
And we're hosting a golf tournament at the last weekend of September next year. So if there's any golfers or you know anyone, and Scott, I need to chat with you. Anyway.
I'd
yeah.
love to attend the Friends of College.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'd
great.
like to,
Yeah,
But-
April 18th.
yeah, be involved with that.
Excellent.
What time is the meeting?
It's
The
at noon.
meeting is at
Oh.
noon.
And you'll send
Oh.
I'll put it on here, but
I'm the committee chair now. I
There you
will
go.
send you
thank
something.
you.
I'll get your name on the list. Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, I'll go next. I just had a couple things. One is to do with the college. I've been since last summer. I've been on a small committee with the college that's been putting together a mentorship program for new faculty. And I know that we're now to the point where we've hired the coordinator, and we're really looking for the instructors, but really the mentees to go through this program. So essentially, it's a year-long program that'll consist of, I don't know, about 8 or 10 Saturday sessions where you just learn about working for the college, being mostly a part-time instructor at first. They're really going to be marketing to the district, really all over, but the school district is the current staff, and even graduating seniors, as a possible professional pathway to becoming a full-time instructor. And this group really came about there was a group of us, but partially because my experience teaching was pretty horrendous, the orientation part, because I really was just thrown under the bus and there was no support. And they found that in other centers throughout the college district. And so we've kind of put this group together, and they're funding it. And it's really, I didn't think it would happen so fast, but it's really, Amanda has been amazing putting this together. So if you could just look out for any communication from Amanda or the new coordinator and kind of help get the word out about that. We already have people applying, so I think spots are going to fill up pretty quickly this first time, but it's a great opportunity for teachers who want to do dual, everyone's talking about dual enrollment, increasing that. This is a great opportunity to get more staff and more subjects that can be taught. And I really wanted to thank Diana and Mary for the whole advocacy thing. I did see some emails fly through my inbox. It was something that, wasn't on my radar, obviously, and it was just so great to have you guys represent and be there, especially the only ones in the county. So thank you for that time. I am actually going to Sacramento at the end of the month. If there's anything I can bring or follow up, I'll have some time to go to the Capitol and drop off stuff at the offices or whatever.
I'll give you a handwritten invitation to.
Whatever. I just think follow-up is really important. So if there's
Yeah.
anything you would like me to do, I won't set up meetings or anything, but just to
Right.
drop something off, or I'd be happy
Great.
to, So that was it for me.
guess we're going around the horn here. I already gave my shout out about the high school. I just can't, it was just so nice to see that many students motivated about their, which was definitely in the LCAP feedback too, that the kids are super excited about those advanced and dual enrollment classes. And then the other thing I wanted to shout out to the public, if anybody's still watching, is that May 10th, Lily Titchener is organizing the career day, and the lots of push outs have been happening to click on the link. You can go to the district Facebook pages and things and click on the link if you want to be involved and come and share your career stories with students of the district. So I'm pretty excited that I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people from those that advertising. So thank you, Lily.
I think also on that is that you can also say if you want to be on the interviews for freshman seminar, or you want to
all
do
kinds
all
of
this,
career
anything to help
That's
out
the
the schools.
I think the soonest thing that's happening.
Yep. Very exciting.
I attended the fentanyl workshop that was about 2 weeks ago. I had two hats, city hat and then the board hat. So it was a great experience. We had 3 students from the high school who attended, and it was really good feedback. It's one of 3 workshops, so the next one will be in April. And it was just a good time to just start having the conversation of how we're just a community that has a lot of hardships around drugs and alcohol, and why, and how we can change that. That's it.
And I also wanted to, Alt-Ed, I think is still looking for people for their mock interview day on April 17th, I think it is. So if you or anyone you know wants to be a part of that. Yeah? Okay.
Is that your site? Is that how you know that?
No, I was asked to come back, but I have a medical thing I got to do that day, so I couldn't. So I'm trying to find someone to replace me. So
I
there's.
signed up.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I signed, I thought it was a different day, but anyway.
Yeah, if it's yeah. Anyway.
Did I miss an email?
I didn't see it either. And
No,
I'm
it was
actually attached to that,
they
but-
sent out an invite to people that have did it last year.
previous
So it was like
year,
a hey, do
okay.
you want to come back sort of email. So
it
it
must
was
have been 2
direct.
years ago I did it.
Yeah. So
Okay,
I told him I'd put the word out there
Thank you.
in case.
Yeah.
Trustee Snyder, we do have one public comment.
Oh, great. Wonderful.
We have a public comment from Jay at mcn.org. He says, I would like to invite all faculty, past and present, and staff to come to the FBHS alumni picnic on August 17th from noon to 6 p.m. at the McGuire Family Picnic Grounds off Bald Hill Road. I'm not sure if it's possible to send the information to all the faculty and staff so that they can put it on their calendars. This is an annual event on the 3rd Saturday of August every year. J. McMartin Rosenquist.
Thank you. Wonderful. Okay, moving on to 12.3 housekeeping. I know we have a board workshop coming up next week. So Kathy and I think on Monday or two, we'll finalize maybe after this. We're going to have an agenda setting just so, I don't know, I want to try and organize our time as best. We have a lot to go over. So I just want to try and organize the time as best as we can. There is a draft agenda up on Gamut. It's not, I just ignore it for now.
Yeah.
Because
It's everything under the sun.
yeah, kind of. I have a large list. I've just been taking notes over the last few months of things that we've said, we'll talk about this at the workshop. But if you do have anything you want, I will try and get out my draft to all of you in the next day or two so that you can provide comments back so that when Kathy and I meet with Joe and Renee next Monday or Tuesday, we can kind of finalize our time. I don't know food-wise if we're doing, I don't know what we want to do. It's at 5:30, I believe.
Yes, I'll be sending out a poll to the board for food preferences.
Okay. I'm also happy to just get stuff or bring stuff too. So.
And are we going to use this room for that?
I believe so,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Is that what
We're
you-
not going to be set up like this. We'll
No.
have our.
No,
yeah.
we'll be more work.
Kind of like the safety committee was the other.
Great.
Okay. And is Kelly Smith still?
Yes, she'll be there. I would suggest that we place her at the top of the agenda so that we can kind of get her in, and then
Yeah.
she'll be working with our teachers that day. I'd send a little bit of information out to you about
Yes.
Right.
the instructional rounds that she'll be doing in the morning and things.
Excellent.
So,
So she was supposed to go to that meeting, not Saturday's equity, right? Is
I
that-
think originally it was
Okay, 'cause-
Saturday.
Okay,
but
okay,
then-
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just
think.
like, I hope, maybe what?
No, yeah.
And
Okay.
she just had out-of-state travel, so she just was not available.
Yeah, no, I get it. I was just anyway, that was just clarifying. But I know there's a ton on the agenda, but I know we need to try to fine tune or talk about the sunshine money and the staff appreciation.
Okay.
Because that's fast
Yes.
approaching.
Very fast.
Figure out how we can efficiently push out our appreciation in a more effective way.
Okay. And then anything else? I know it's not a complete list, but is there anything else?
I'm gonna review all the pieces that I can from the equity, because I've got notes to just
I
kind
think
of
we need to
different
debrief
lens.
from that because we didn't get to any
Mhm.
of the homework, you know. any of the
Right.
stuff, So I feel like we need to have.
But I'm
some
gonna
kind
do
of-
some and then I'll try to get to you tomorrow or Monday and just let you know maybe something that's a priority.
I sent you mine.
Yes,
Yep.
thank you for
Yeah.
that. Yep. Okay, and the other thing on the list is our next board meeting on April 18th.
Busy day.
All right, so with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will move to adjourn.
Is there a